Even men at the top of their game find themselves wanting more from life. Whether it's more meaning, unshakable confidence, a bigger impact, more money, deeper love, a hotter sex life, or a powerful legacy. Find out how good your life can be on this episode of Man Alive. Also, as I've supported men in their love and work lives for 15 years now, many men have asked me for the right words to say to be more attractive, desirable, and more of a leader. And I've found it's not so simple as giving scripts or lines. Because at the root of a connected and affectionate relationship and being more effective and inspiring at work is your ability to influence others. But most often, influence is not gained or lost with words. It's from what I call the invisible factors. So I created a quick guide for you called 3 Ways Men Lose Influence at Work and with Women, so you can understand how these invisible factors work and what has women and colleagues both more inspired to say yes. I think you're also going to be surprised to find out the moment when your influence actually begins. So grab the guide for free at shanajamescoaching.com/3ways. That's shanajamescoaching.com/3 and the word ways, WAYS. Or you can text ALIVE to 44144. That's the word ALIVE, ALIVE, to 44144. I hope you enjoy the guide and this episode. Hello and welcome to this episode of Man Alive. I'm so happy to be here today to talk about how to be a powerful man rather than a boy. And I'm here with Kenny Mamarella de Cruz. Welcome, Kenny.
Hello. I feel like we've known each other for a long time.
We've known each other for lifetimes.
Get in there, don't we?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah.
We've met now. This is our second time. And immediately there's so much to talk about. And I feel really excited for this topic because I do not subscribe to the, be a man up, right? I don't imagine you do either. There's something about being a powerful man that we're going to get into around, the vulnerability and the emotionality and all of the realms of it. Mm. But when you started talking about the distinction between being a man versus a boy, it blew my mind. And I think there's going to be a lot, just so much valuable content for men here who want to grow and want to be stronger and better leaders and more powerful in their lives, and also don't want to have to subscribe to the man culture.
Yeah.
So let me give you a quick intro before we dive in, and then we'll dive into the topic. So Kenny is the man whisperer by Newsweek, who helps men achieve their life, relationship, and career goals. As a personal development consultant, Kenny runs workshops and sees individuals and couples. And he's been holding men's groups in London and online since 2002, and now teaches a men's group facilitator training workshop called Men Speak, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm excited for you to share a little bit more about at the end too. And Kenny loves helping men and women gain the awareness and tools to consciously embody their potential and meet all of life's challenges. And you've been doing this for how many decades? At least since 2002, but
something.
25 years?
80s. I started in the late 80s.
Yeah, okay.
It was unofficial. I was pretending not to.
Right. But you just can't help it. Every time I talk to you, I'm like, clear, right? You just can't help but do what you do. So,
the weird thing, the way it all started is the weird thing was I was working, marketing and publicity was my thing. And it was all for me about relationships and communication.
Yes.
And in a way you could say about the feel of things. But more than that, what I realized is it was about the frequency that goes out from individuals. You could say that a business is an extension of the person behind the business. And before there were 2 types of clients. For some reason, there was the type that would talk a lot about what's going on in their lives, etc., and the type that didn't. And I didn't necessarily ask or prefer one or the other. But I noticed that the ones that talked about themselves and somehow worked through their stuff, before we even put out the publicity, they attracted goodness. And I thought, well, what's this about? And, basically I knew what it was all about all along. It was about their frequency being fine-tuned about who they are.
And how do you describe frequency? You're saying that a person actually knows who they are, what matters to them, and they're communicating that?
If I'm going around the world with am I? Am I going to be rejected? Am I going to be found out? Am I going to be humiliated? Am I going to be seen as tough or handsome or rich? Am I going to be disposed of? Then I'm putting out lots of different questions and fears, and it's like all over the place.
And people feel that, right? You and I both know that people feel that.
Exactly.
Yes.
Where if I have a certain sense of self, and it doesn't matter if that sense changes, and of course it's going to change because, you know, people change, people grow.
Yeah.
Then I'm putting out an I am. So it's not giving power out for the approval and acceptance of other people.
Okay, say that again. It's not giving power out for the approval and acceptance of others.
Exactly. And that's what I am is. It's like, you tell me I'm okay. I will be whoever and whatever you want me to be. That's the am I going out.
Yes.
But once it comes from I am,
yes,
which isn't power over anyone, it's a sense of self, then that's a much more fine-tuned frequency of this is who I am going out. Yes. The danger is not everyone might like you, but then most people don't like the am-Is that much anyway, because there's no one to have a relationship with anyway.
Right. Well, when you're putting out the am I, and looking for someone else, right? It's like, if someone's trying to relate to you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this ties into our conversation though around being a man completely versus acting like a boy.
So here's me spilling the beans on how to control and punish men.
Okay, this is interesting.
I would say that most men fear humiliation and abandonment. And I know that was certainly true with me. Yeah. And that's the little boy in every, and probably the little girl.
Yes, right. We don't even have to genderize it.
And it's not necessarily about boy or girl. I'd say it's more about a masculine person and a feminine person and where that individual is coming from.
Yeah.
So quite simply, I would say the surviving little boy will continue putting out am I and will be desperately seeking approval.
Yeah.
Proving who he is and who he isn't, depending on what he thinks other people want, and surviving and creating things to survive and surviving. And
that attempting to survive and the proving, I found that to be a huge one when I work with men and help them go beyond the trying to prove there's something, right? Like I'm strong enough, I'm smart enough, I'm powerful enough, I'm all those things, right? When we actually end up letting go of proving, that's when I see men step into, it's one of the pieces, right? That step into that manhood.
And the bottom line is, don't sell it, be it.
Okay, that's a big statement. How? Well, you keep going if you want to keep going, but then I want to hear, how do you help men not sell it, but be it?
Well, it is coming from the I am and letting that frequency go out. Because with the am I, it's pretending to be in control, never actually be in control. I mean, so many men, I would say it's a male trait, and especially a boy trait rather than a man trait, to go into the head and fix everything. Who's going to be scared of me? Who's going to be angry at me? Who should I be scared of? What do I need to prove? Blah, blah, blah. And it's all in the head, and it's all trying to second guess and fix. Again, there's no man to meet. There's no man to trust. There's no man to love. There are no boundaries. There's no man.
It's kind of like an empty shell of just thoughts and old thoughts and repetitive thoughts and habitual thoughts versus, there's actually someone here in this moment who I'm deeply connecting with and relating to.
A cheap survival act.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to say that in a disrespectful way, because if people don't realize this is what they're doing, then surely they deserve respect for trying to be a good person and live a good life.
Yeah.
But then this is where awareness comes in, and it's self-awareness is the key to, okay, well, if this is what keeps repeating in my life, or these are the personalities that keep coming up in my life, then why do I have this pattern? Why does Groundhog Day bring me the same characters and the same situations and the same betrayals and the same whatever it is? Well, it's probably because I won't allow myself to live
Yes.
beyond my survival script, because that's vulnerable.
Ooh, it is, right? It's vulnerable. It's risky. You don't know what's going to happen. It's like, men who I work with who would love to do something different for a living and have a bigger impact. And yet what that demands is actually going out of the box, out of the comfort zone, letting go of the, the given or the stability, and actually risking the unknown.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are two things I want to say, and I'm going to name them so I don't forget them.
Great.
One of them is the man and the boy.
Yeah.
Where how the man shows up.
Yes.
And to allow the man to take power.
Yeah.
The second one is vulnerability, because it's not vulnerable to be a victim. The victim is generally in control of everyone and everything.
So interesting. I there's a lot more research and exploring I need to do around the victim, and because every time someone talks about the victim, I can feel this cringe in me. So it'll be good to hear from you. But I want to start with the man and the boy. And I know you have a couple principles or ways that boys act versus men act, and I'd love to hear those so we can dive into them.
So if the boy is all about surviving and staying out of trouble and not being abandoned or humiliated, then the man is surely a lot more than that.
Yeah.
And the man will not need to prove his masculinity, but will allow his femininity and can collaborate rather than just compete.
So with the surviving boy, what does that become when you step into being more of a man? Is there a counterpoint to that one?
That is where taking the hugest risk in life comes in.
Okay, great.
Every moment.
Great.
Because for me, power comes from vulnerability.
Yes.
It doesn't come from Groundhog Day. We all know how to survive the same old and to be in control of that. And it's not powerful, it's familiar and therefore safe.
Yes.
And the protector part of us knows how to do it. It's the protector's job to make sure that we survive.
Yes.
Living, none of his business. Survival is where it's at for the protector.
Yes. Okay, great.
So let's say, for argument's sake, at some stage, the boy gets vulnerable. Yeah. It could be that the parents split, or something happens in school, or someone dies, or there's a misunderstanding, or there's another sibling, or who knows what it is. Something happens. Yeah. So at some stage, this child or this free spirit feels pain.
Yes.
And the pain, the child is not protected, nurtured, cherished, whatever, by the parents. Not a fault of the parents.
Yeah.
This is the human condition.
This is the human condition, right?
So that's where it might be said that a protector shows up, a part of that child to protect it, to protect this spirit, this pure spirit. So you could say the spirit's been fractured.
Yes. And doesn't know how to actually survive that moment, or hasn't been guided, like you said. So then the protector comes in, or the identity, right? Who do I have to be now?
Exactly.
Yes.
So the protector will basically say, right, I am going to make sure that you are safe. Yes. I will protect your spirit. I will protect your essence. Do you know the way that the most nasty, evil people can, at some stage, just before people say, oh, I've had enough of you, you are out of my life, there's that twinkle in the eye, and it's, I can forgive you anything. Do you know that?
No. And so I just want to say, for those of you listening, you did air quotes around evil, but okay, say more what you mean, the twinkle in the eye.
Sometimes there are people, it's like they'll push and there'll be abandonment or abuse or betrayal or whatever it is. Yep. And people go, oh, I can't deal with this anymore. I can't deal with this bad person. And it's like, I've had enough. Yeah. And just before that person is chucked, there's a twinkle in his eye, or there's a twinkle in her eye. And it's like, I know who you are. I can forgive you anything. I would say that twinkle in the eye, that's the spirit of who they really are.
Right.
Not their behavior, but the spirit of who they really are. So the protector.
God, there's just humans. It's like, right, the human condition of just walking around as our protectors and as our identities. And yes. Yeah.
So in a way, you could say the protector shows up, let's say for argument's sake, this isn't necessarily the case, when I was 7-year-old and we had a phone call saying, we're going to come and kill you tonight. I was in Uganda and it was...
Right. This is real. This happened to you.
Yeah. Secret Service were after us and we were on the death list and blah, blah, blah. So you could say that at 7, this protector showed up.
Yes, of course.
And this protector said, right, you are not going to touch the spirit of this child.
Yes.
You have me to deal with.
Yes.
So it could be said that for most of my life, my protector continued to keep me safe.
Right. And was out front.
Exactly.
Interacting
and
with
no one could really see my spirit.
Right.
Unless it was the odd twinkle in the eye or someone that was safe and someone that, I could love and could love me, etc., etc. Until I realized, I guess this is part of my story, until I realized in my 30s, I'm 55 this year, that actually everyone else thinks I'm a really good man. And I kind of guessed I am a good man, but there's something missing.
Yes, where you feel sort of like you're scrunching up your face, like, no, I kind of guess I'm a good man, but you recognize there was something missing.
It was, am I? I was performing little boy, pretending to be man to protect my family. Cut a long story short, we left my father in Uganda. Yeah. We didn't know whether he'd be killed, and we were on a plane to the UK to refugee camps.
Wow.
So at the age of 7, I was kind of the head of the family.
The man of the family, right?
Exactly. So I continued being a little boy, pretending to be a man, and doing a jolly good job of it.
Wow.
Until I remember thinking, there's no space for me here. Yes, I'm a good man, but I am not my man.
Okay. And so when you say there's no space for me here, it's like you started to feel, what was that experience where you're like, oh, who am I actually?
In a way, it wasn't that intellectual. It was more like, I don't exist in my life.
Oh,
this is all for other people.
Right. This is all for other people.
I don't know who I really am. And who I really am was this protected spirit.
Yes.
Who couldn't even tell his story because no one would get it anyway.
Right. But did you have access to that all along? Or you just started finding it at that point, realizing, oh, God.
I had to realize. And once I realized, I needed to unlearn that man.
Okay.
And what I realized also.
The unlearning.
Exactly. And what I realized was my protector kept me somehow at 7 years old.
Yes.
So there wasn't a man there.
No.
So I needed to unlearn whatever wasn't safe. I noticed as I started to unravel my own life. And my survival was very good. I had, as a child, Tourette's and obsessive compulsive disorder and trichomania and all sorts of...
Wow, I never would have guessed any of that.
Yeah, I know. I don't twitch anymore. It's so cool. Yeah. That was the only bit that people could see. The rest was my dirty little secret.
Wow.
But all of that was almost like the overflow while I survived really well. Yeah. So with all of this, I survived well.
Well, and I just want to say, I see this with a lot of men. A lot of men out there surviving and looking great on the surface. And, most men and most people I talk to, right, they're underneath the surface, there is some pain, there is some struggle, and we can all look really good and we can all think everyone else is doing really well out there. But I also recognize I do look at people and I can see often the age at which their protector came in or which they were kind of frozen in time.
Exactly. Yes. From the way they move or the words they use or even the shape of their lips and fingers or whatever. It's like we were saying earlier, life is Columbo. We just need to see the clues.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so there's so much here, and I think we could keep diving into all of these pieces, but I also want to clarify there's from surviving to taking risks. You also spoke about, that boys are more into the competition versus collaboration. Can you speak to that one a little bit?
Yeah. So what I noticed is in order to maintain my status as a good man or as a decent boy, there was natural competition without thinking. This was more about don't abandon me or don't take away my status or don't whatever. It was all fear-based.
Yeah.
So the surviving boy who is owned and ruled by the protector, who does a damn good job generally comes from fear. There's no real love. So I needed to find the places of fear and unlearn them. I needed, in a breath, to take a deep breath in. So here's a little technique that I use. When I find that I or anyone is like lost in the head, that's the boy trying to work things out and survive. So as soon as I'm in there working things out, and these things might be fears and fantasies, they might not even be real, take a deep breath in, and as I breathe in, I think, thank you for reminding me who I used to be. And as I breathe out, and used to be makes space, and it's a gratitude for the survival. As I breathe out, I take part with what's in front of me. And that's being present and connected. So that allows the fearful boy
to
and
step
the protector
aside.
Step aside. Not bad, not out, not demonized. He has his place. And the protector can go off duty if there is a man there to take care of the boy.
And I think, okay, so part of what I'm noticing is I'm having these two split tracks. I mean, one is all of this information is profound, and I think men are going to get a lot from it. And then I'm also just back reeling in your story of boyhood to manhood and your particular version, which is very intense, of having your family threatened and your father, you know, you weren't even sure if he was alive, and having to become a man. And I think there's a part of my heart that's still sitting with that. So I just wanted to name that because I can feel I keep going back there. And I just have so much admiration and even love for you in the journey, and, you know, grateful that through all of this struggle and all of this recognition that you're actually leading men from these internal places of boyhood to manhood.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's a bit rude of me maybe, but I forget the impact of a story like this.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's rude. I just think you have a really, I would imagine you've lived it for the past 40 to 50 years. And you also are very smart and wise, and you have a lot to give. So I could see that you would move past it, but
thank you.
It's really, it's deep.
I would say also that the key for a lot of people is to know the story and own the story. So the story,
their own story.
Otherwise the story will own you.
Yes.
And you just keep repeating the same old story. So it's like how to get off the treadmill, how to get off survival, how to save that little boy from surviving. And in a breath, here's the gift. In a breath, I can feel into the little boy and say, it's okay, I'm here.
Well, right. And you can do it in a breath. Right. And for those listening who haven't done this, it takes, sometimes it can take some guidance or some support to actually be able to do it in a breath. Sometimes it's a month, or then it becomes a week, and then a day, and then a breath. Right. But powerful that what I'm hearing in that is the acceptance. There's not a shaming or blaming or making that little boy part wrong. It's going to be in there forever. I have my little girl. She's going to be in there forever. And a recognition of, oh, I have more capacity than I used to.
I feel embarrassed.
Why?
The way you say it's not a shaming or a blaming. I remember for a long time. I just thought, why doesn't that little boy just die?
I know. No, I've had that same thought.
Like, I'm busy trying to survive. I haven't got time for this nonsense.
So how did you make the shift from that? Because that's, why doesn't this little boy die, to, oh, I can take a breath and actually accept him. How did that happen?
I realized that I had no choice because it wasn't the little boy. It was my spirit.
Right.
And I was stuck there. I was stuck in survival. That survival talk. As the man in me can basically in a breath say, it's okay, I've got it, I'm here. Then I'm not sending a boy to do a man's job.
Right.
I'm not pretending to be in control. Not only is he safe, and there's space for me, rather than the protector dominating my life, there's space for me. But now I have a pure spirit that can guide me and tell me where to go and who to trust and what's really going on.
Yes. I love that. I've been playing with that recently, and I felt often guided throughout my life, but the past 5 or 6 years, I would say I was wondering, where did that guidance go? Things got a little more crunchy, and I just felt like, oh, it's not happening. And recently that guidance has come back in, and what I'm noticing about it is how quiet it is until I really start paying attention. It's like these little whispers from my soul or my spirit. And I think we are so, especially nowadays where there's the media and, constantly looking at our phones and advertisements, and we can read the news anywhere we are, we don't actually make a lot of space for that quiet.
This is where the man comes in, because the man includes the feminine. And the feminine is receiving, feeling, listening, responding rather than reacting.
Okay, so that's another one. Responding, reacting is more the boy trait, responding the man.
Exactly. And it's in listening to life, or listening to my feelings, or listening to what's going on, that I can truly be informed. Where if I'm not listening, I believe that God will send me a clue, and then God will send me a loud clue, and then I might get a slap.
Like a bang over the head.
What does he or she need to do for me to get the message? Well, I need to be quiet. I need to come from safety and from being, not from doing. The boy is doing. The man
is being.
Exactly. And, it's almost like when I was that surviving boy that everyone else respected, etc., there was no space for me.
Right.
And there was no real safety.
Yeah. Well,
go on.
No, I was just thinking how that's one of the things I love in working with men is, yes, you can, be a more powerful leader. You can have a more powerful impact. You can love a woman or a man or whoever. But then what about you, right? Like, where is the space for you and your true desires and, what is meaningful for you? And I find that a lot of men give that up in an attempt to be either powerful, as society calls it, or to be good or to be in service, to be a nice guy who is in some ways trying to make up for men who've done shitty things.
A puppy.
Yeah.
And puppies are cute for a while.
Yeah.
With that, I find that as I have become more self-aware, the more I want out of life, the more life will show me, you want to go there, you want more, then release me.
Yeah.
What people often think is like, oh, what, more trouble? For me, I'm not sure it's more trouble. It's life saying, here's another part, release me. Now, what I don't like is the way a lot of people can be addicted to, let me find more trouble. Let me fix myself so I'm okay enough to take part in life.
Yeah.
And again, a boy can't be in love. A man can be in love, because being in love is giving and receiving love. That's vulnerable.
Yes.
Where I couldn't do that. I could give love.
You could give.
But I couldn't receive it.
That's the other thing that I work with men so much is, like so many men, I have to stop them when I appreciate them or say something and, it's glossed over and I'm like, did you hear what I said? What do you mean? Oh yeah. I heard you say that thing. And then when we actually slow it down, there's often tears and this opening in a way that's never happened before.
Exactly. You get to touch their being.
Yes.
They must feel safe with you for you to be able to go there with them. Good on you.
Yeah.
So here's another trick with the breath, because for me, it's not about I will work hard and then I will play hard and I will stuff myself up. Then I'll go on a retreat and then, it's got to be in the moment. In
the moment. Okay. So this is like a consistent practice for you, not just like you said, in one-offs. Yeah.
No. And I find that if something comes up, and, life is saying, okay, you want more, you deal with this. So I will feel into it. And if I try to breathe, thank you for reminding me who I used to be, and it doesn't work, then I need to follow where that breath takes me. And that breath, that emotional thread.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you exactly where it took me.
Yeah.
Because it's deeper and deeper and deeper. And I remember
So the
the
willingness to
time.
follow that emotional thread.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And my greed of wanting more out of life and to take part in life more. So as I wanted more, it's like, okay, here's a block. And then I felt the block and I followed the feeling. And I thought, glamorous stories, refugee and this and that and whatever. I didn't feel them anymore. They didn't own me anymore. So where's this taking me? So I took a breath and it took me right back to the first tragedy that I didn't realize was the first tragedy. And
Wow.
that's when my cousins were sent to boarding school.
Huh.
And I must have been 3-4 years old. And it's like, oh my God. I mean,
You
even
were
talking about it
heartbroken.
now, it's like, I can feel it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the first absolute tragedy. My cousins who I loved were sent away. Where were they sent? My
Right. What
heart
happened
broke.
to them? And then you didn't have them anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I needed to claim myself. I needed to take care of my little boy through that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And to not make it okay, but get up to date. Make him safe again because he wasn't safe.
Right.
Hold him to allow this to pass because it just didn't make sense. Way.
Well, wait, hold on. One thing I just want to say for those listening, in the concrete terms, you stayed with the emotional experience of that loss.
Yeah.
Until what? Until it wasn't there anymore? You just let it move through you? How did that happen for you?
I find this is a line that my wife uses, and she keeps saying, don't quote me because I'm sure it was someone famous. You can't heal what you don't feel or what you won't feel.
Yes.
So I learned that I need to feel into it.
Yeah.
And I need to feel through it.
Yeah.
And then I'm big again, for want of a better term. Yeah. Then I'm more whole.
Yes. And I was just thinking like we could do a whole episode actually where we start on just that, where we talk about just that, feeling into it, feeling through it, how to actually do that. And I think that's why you and I also do what we do, because it's not easy when you first start. Still not easy for me sometimes. I have people I work with who help me stay with the feeling and what's unraveling and what's unfolding, because it can be easy to just pop out into our thoughts and into our fears and all of that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I do often say, I mean, one of the biggest tragedies that I feel I've acknowledged this year is that most men don't actually have any friends. No real friends.
Yeah.
There might be people they know. There might be people who fear them because they have power, or people that collude with them, or people that they do things with.
Right, which is different.
Yeah, totally. To be met by someone, to be let in by someone, to be safe with someone, etc. And going into these emotions, these deep, dark emotions, I find that a lot of men can go right near them and into a depression. Yes. But going into it, that's too scary. And before I went into it, I thought, if I take the lid off this, two things might happen. Yeah. I might start crying and never stop.
And never stop. I hear that so many times. Yeah.
And the other one is I might just go bonkers. Yes. And I'll be locked up, rocking. Yeah. And things will be going on in my head, but I'd be so disconnected from the outside world that they wouldn't know that there's someone alive in there. Right.
And the reality that you and I both know now through doing our own work and guiding people through it, right, is that's usually the opposite of what happens. I mean, I can't say there's no one who's ever gone bonkers or cried forever, but I do know people, and I know myself, I've cried for every day for years at a time after certain pieces that I've, stumbled into or consciously chosen to look at emotionally. And I know men who've done the same thing, and that's okay too, that's a part of life and becoming a man. I think in the way that we're talking about is welcoming that as well. The thawing and that, not walking around as an iceberg, not able to be impacted and able to receive, but actually feeling life and getting to receive.
And I'm guessing that it's people like you and me, and the people who can hold men, women, children, whoever, their friends, their community. It's one of the reasons that I not just run men's groups, but train people to run men's groups. So men are held, not necessarily physically. In fact, I don't think it's ever happened physically that I can think of, but it's like to be with, to debrief with, to share the madness, to share the journey.
Right, to understand.
To collaborate.
Yes.
And it's like, now I'm safe to go in there. Yeah. Now I'm safe. And before I go in there, this is the beauty of the men's groups for me, is everyone gets to learn from everyone else's experiences.
Yes.
And the more painful and so-called failure of an experience, the more valuable the lesson for others to learn from. Yep. Who needs these glamorous stories about I was so popular and I was so cool? Is that helpful?
Those are everywhere.
Boring.
Yeah. Okay, so for time's sake, because we could keep going for hours, as we're wrapping up and, on the theme of being more of a man than a boy in your life, what do you want to leave men with? What feels important?
There is a horrible term, man up. And I've taken that term and I've turned it around to man up and talk about it. And it could be talk to yourself. It could be write it out of you. It could be talk to a different part of you. It could be talk to a friend. It could be talk to a poor, unsuspecting lady on a park bench. It could be talking to your cat. Yeah. But don't be it.
Don't be alone in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Man up is being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Not putting on a mask. It goes from masculine to masculine.
Oh, that's a good one.
How cheap is that?
I like it.
And I would say, be clear about the toxic masculine and the toxic feminine. If the toxic masculine is loud and it's there coming at you, then counterbalance it. And there is a time and a place for it. Maybe on the football pitch, maybe in a war zone. It's not all bad. There is a time and a place. And I would say what rules a lot of men is the so-called toxic feminine. And it's that fear of being abandoned, humiliated, withdrawn from. Even that judgmental look is enough to crumble the biggest muscles with the most money, and the chest beater can die with that one.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
Yes.
And it's not that the toxic masculine has anything to do with the male and the toxic feminine has anything to do with the female. These are energies in men.
We all have.
Exactly. And it's not fix it. It's not second guess it. It's be with it. Take a breath and respond to it. You are totally in charge of the way that you treat life. I believe that life can't treat me in a way. If I treat myself in a good way, life can treat me in a good way.
Yes.
If I treat myself in a bad way, then I'm saying, bring it on. This is what I'm worth.
Yes.
How's that for power?
Woo! Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I have deep gratitude for you. And I can't believe we just met, because I feel like I've known you forever. And
Same.
I love how you speak about things, and I love what you're bringing to men. And I love your, simultaneous, the compassion and the strength and the calling out and the loving. And so thank you for being a man who is bringing all of that.
Thank you for being a woman who is willing to meet us where we are.
Thank you. And how can men find you? Where do you want them to go?
themanwhisperer.co.uk is for my private work and videos and articles and whatever. But there's also mensgroups.co.uk.
Okay.
A charity I'm launching later this year is all about training people to hold their own groups, men, women, therapists, whoever it is, it really doesn't matter.
Beautiful.
But also on mensgroups.co.uk, you can download the ground rules, the check-in round, there are videos, and you can just hit the ground running.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you joined us for today's episode of Man Alive. I hope it gives you a sense of what's possible and how good your life can be. If you like what you heard, I'd be so grateful for you to subscribe to Man Alive and write a quick review that helps men like you find us. And again, head over to shanajamescoaching.com/manalive to get outtakes, videos, and raw footage I only share there. These are some of the most interesting parts of these expert conversations. You can also grab your copy of The Unknown Power to accelerate your career and solidify your confidence with women, because the two are related, and I know you don't have to settle for one or the other. Join us each week for a new episode of Man Alive.